The Mediterranean, February 1941. Somewhere beneath the grey chop of water off the Kerkennah Islands, a British submarine lay in wait. She displaced less than 550 tons submerged. Her crew numbered fewer than 36 men. Her pressure hull was narrow enough that 2 men could barely pass each other in the central passageway without turning sideways. Senior officers at Alexandria had debated whether boats of her class were too small, too lightly armed, and too short-range to be genuinely useful in the deep-water campaigns of the Mediterranean War. Even some of the men who sailed in her wondered, quietly, whether she was built for this kind of work. On the surface, steaming southwest under cover of darkness towards Tripoli, was the Italian light cruiser Armando Diaz, a sleek, modern warship displacing more than 5,000 tons, her magazines full, her mission vital to Axis supply lines in North Africa. She was fast, she was armed, and she had destroyers screening her flanks. The submarine had 6 minutes to change the course of that mission entirely. This is the story of HMS Upholder, and the patrol that began to make her legend. To understand what Upholder was being asked to do in the winter of 1941, it is necessary to understand what the Mediterranean meant to both sides at that moment. North Africa was not a sideshow. The Axis needed Tripoli supplied, fuel, ammunition, men, armour, and the sea route from Italian ports was the artery that kept Rommel's ambitions alive. For the Royal Navy, severing or strangling that artery was as strategically urgent as anything happening in the Atlantic. Submarines operating out of Malta and Alexandria were the most direct instrument available for that work. On paper, the Armando Diaz presented a formidable obstacle to any submarine captain who might encounter her. She was a Condottieri-class light cruiser, a type specifically designed by the Regia Marina for speed. Cruisers of her class were built to run from danger and to run down enemies. On paper, her displacement and her armament vastly outclassed anything a U-class submarine could threaten from a distance. On paper, the escorting destroyers and the cruiser's own speed gave her commanders reason for confidence. A convoy run under cruiser cover, in conditions of darkness, ought to have been secure against a small submarine with a modest torpedo load and no margin for error. The Italian Naval Command, Submarine, had placed Armando Diaz under special duties for the protection of Albanian traffic from January 1941, and that February her orders extended to something more significant, cover for a major supply convoy bound for Tripoli, in company with the light cruiser Giovanni Dol near and a screen of destroyers. The mission reflected how seriously Rome took the need to keep Rommel supplied. A cruiser was not committed lightly to convoy escort work. She was there because the cargo mattered. HMS Upholder was a U-class submarine. The class had been designed originally as training boats, vessels intended to give submariners practice in the relatively sheltered waters around Britain before they moved on to larger, more capable fleet submarines. They were short, blunt-bowed, with a surface displacement of around 540 tons and a submerged displacement approaching 740 tons. Their length ran to approximately 58 meters. They carried for forward-firing torpedo tubes and could take a reload. They were not, in the estimation of many senior naval officers, the weapon of choice for offensive operations in a sea patrolled by fast surface warships and Italian aircraft. What the U-class boats had, however, was precisely the quality that the confined waters of the Mediterranean demanded. They were small enough to operate in relatively shallow areas where larger submarines risked grounding or detection. Their compact dimensions made them harder to locate and harder to fix during a depth charge hunt. And when the Admiralty committed them to the Mediterranean in numbers from 1940 onward, they found themselves doing work that the original training boat designation had never anticipated. Upholder's commanding officer was Lieutenant Commander Malcolm Wanklyn. He had commissioned the boat and had been developing, through successive patrols, a command style that would come to define her reputation. Wanklyn was not a reckless captain. He was a precise one. He understood the geometry of a torpedo attack in terms that went beyond drill, the relationship between range, angle, target speed, and the running time of a torpedo was something he worked through with a thoroughness that his crew came to rely on. The U-class was not going to overpower an enemy on tonnage. She was going to beat him on timing. The Mediterranean theater demanded a particular kind of patience from a submarine commander. The water was often strikingly clear, which meant that a periscope raised too high or held up too long could be spotted from a circling aircraft or a vigilant lookout on a destroyer. Attack runs had to be compressed, decisions had to be made quickly and correctly the first time, because a missed opportunity often meant a depth charge attack before a second shot could be arranged. Wanklyn had learned this. Upholder had learned it with him. If you find yourself drawn to the stories of the ships and the men who turned impossibility into result, this channel is where those accounts live. Subscribing means you won't miss the next one. The early hours of the 25th of February 1941 found Upholder in position off the Kerkennah Islands, which lie in the Gulf of Gabes off the coast of what is now Tunisia. The Kerkennah Islands and the surrounding shallows were a navigational waypoint for traffic heading towards Tripoli. The route bent around them, and a submarine commander who understood the likely track of a convoy had reason to place his boat in those waters and wait. Armando Diaz was making her southward passage with Giovanni Dole Band near and the destroyer screen. The night would have given the Italian force a degree of confidence. Darkness reduced the range at which a periscope could be observed, and surface speed in darkness was its own form of protection. The cruisers were pushing on towards their destination. Wanklyn had Upholder in position. He had identified his target. The geometry was working in his favor, or he had put himself in a position where it would work in his favor. The precise interval between detection and firing cannot be reconstructed second by second from the sources available, but what is recorded is what happened next. Upholder fired. Her torpedoes ran. They found Armando Diaz. The Italian cruiser's magazine detonated. From the moment of the torpedo strike to the moment the Armando Diaz slipped beneath the surface of the Mediterranean, 6 minutes. In those 6 minutes, a warship of more than 5,000 tons, commissioned from the yards at La Spezia, launched in April 1933, present at the Battle of Calabria the previous July, carrier of 484 men, was gone. The wreck settled on its port side in less than 50 meters of water, her bow blown entirely away by the magazine explosion, her aft turrets intact but their guns buried in the seabed below her. She lies there still, located by divers around 2009 to 2010, a monument to what 6 minutes and a correctly aimed torpedo from a tiny submarine could accomplish. The loss of 484 men made this one of the sharpest single blows struck against the Regia Marina in that early phase of the Mediterranean campaign. Giovanni Dole Band near and the destroyers were not in a position to prevent it. The convoy cover that had seemed so substantial on the planning charts at Submarine had not been sufficient. The sinking of Armando Diaz was a single action, but it belonged to a broader pattern that Upholder was building across her operational life in the Mediterranean. The boat and her captain went on to accumulate a record that the Royal Navy had rarely seen concentrated in a single submarine command. Upholder was eventually assessed as the most decorated submarine in the British fleet, a designation earned through sustained and verified achievement across multiple patrols operating in waters where the odds were persistently unfavorable. Wanklyn received the Victoria Cross for his actions in command of Upholder, one of the highest decorations the Crown could bestow, and one which the citation reflected was earned not in a single dramatic moment but across a consistent pattern of aggressive, skillful, and successful operations against the enemy's supply lines. His conduct aboard a vessel that her designers had never intended for this kind of war had produced results that no one at the drawing board stage could have predicted. The strategic logic of what Upholder and the other U-class submarines were doing in the Mediterranean was straightforward in concept, though punishing in execution. Deny the Axis the ability to reinforce and supply North Africa freely, and the land campaign became progressively harder to sustain. Every cruiser sunk, every transport sent to the bottom, every ton of fuel and ammunition that did not reach Tripoli represented a direct diminution of Axis capability on land. The 6 minutes it took Armando Diaz to sink were 6 minutes that reverberated across the logistics of Rommel's forces in ways that could not be easily replaced. The Royal Navy's decision to commit the U-class boats to offensive Mediterranean operations, despite the professional skepticism about their size and capability, turned out to be one of the more consequential institutional judgments of the campaign. The shallow water characteristics that had made the class seem limited became operational advantages. The compact crews, who were in constant close proximity to their commanding officers, developed a coherence that larger submarine crews found harder to sustain. And captains like Wanklyn, given boats that required precision rather than brute force, found that precision was exactly what the Mediterranean demanded. HMS Upholder herself was lost in April 1942, sunk off the coast of Sfax in North Africa by the Italian torpedo boat Pegaso. Wanklyn went down with his boat. The submarine that senior officers had questioned, crewed by men who had wondered what she could really accomplish, and commanded by a man who had turned careful geometry into a Victoria Cross, did not come home from that final patrol. She left behind a record that the Royal Navy has measured itself against ever since. They had called her tiny. The accountants who drew up the U-class specification had called her a trainer. The officers who doubted her Mediterranean deployment had called her too small for serious work. The Armando Diaz, 5,000 tons of Regia Marina steel, had perhaps not called her anything at all, had perhaps not known she was there until the torpedoes were already running. 6 minutes. That was all it took for the smallest things to settle the largest arguments. Nobody, after the Kerkennah Islands, called Upholder too small for serious work again. Thank you for watching to the end of this one. If you want to be here for the next account, and there are more overlooked ships with stories just as sharp as this one, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. If the video was worth your time, a like helps the channel considerably. We'll see you for the next sailing.